I think we need to say what happened on October the 7th because there's so much disinformation out there.
There's loads.
Now, what Israel did as a reaction is they invoked the Hannibal Directive, which basically means when an incident like this happens, shoot first, ask questions later. They used heavy artillery, which Hamas didn't have. And I think we can see that from the images of the massive destruction, the aerial images of all the cars being destroyed, all the houses, sheer devastation. No beheaded babies, no rapes whatsoever. All that is pure Israeli propaganda.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Salaam alaikum, and welcome back to another episode of Muslims Uncensored with me, Robert Carter, and Roshan Saleh. Now, as many of you will have known from recent media coverage, it has been 2 years since October the 7th. Not long after that, Israel began its genocidal campaign on Gaza. There are still many questions that remain unanswered about October the 7th, and we're going to discuss some of these unspoken truths today. Pass it over to you, Roshan. Do you want to say everything, all the controversial stuff?
No, I mean, just I think we need to say what happened on October the 7th because there's so much disinformation out there.
There's loads, absolutely. I mean, depending on who you speak to, some people say that a bunch of, barbaric animals went in and just raped everyone, beheaded babies. There were stacks of baby skulls piled up in pyramids.
Burned in ovens.
People were burned in ovens. There was a nuclear attack, I think.
Yeah.
I think Hamas launched nukes and wiped out half of the Jewish population globally. But then if you speak to other side, people who are based their argument on fact rather than emotion, they tend to say, well, actually, this happened, people were killed, obviously the paragliders came in and all this stuff. But also there are some people, Roshan, that ask a lot of questions, unanswered questions like, how did it happen? Israel just turned off the cameras, turned off all its intelligence for hours and just allowed this attack to unfold. So there are people questioning whether basically Netanyahu okayed it or something and allowed the attack to happen, among other things.
All right, let's because I know you love a good conspiracy theory.
So I'm putting you that way.
Let's
focus on the hard stuff first.
In terms of the facts of what happened, so obviously the history didn't start on October the 7th.
Oh really? I had no idea. I thought that was when time.
And this has been 100. This has been 100 years in the making, and Hamas had been ruling Gaza for, I don't know, nearly 20 years. And the situation was getting worse and worse and worse. Israel still effectively occupied the Gaza Strip in all but name. They controlled the airspace, the sea space, the economy, regular raids, regular bombing.
What goes in and out.
Yeah, everything. And I think the Palestinians had enough. And they could see that this was not living. This was existing. So Hamas decided that it would launch an attack on Israel, I call it southern Palestine actually, but settlers call it Israel. And they would do that in the hope that they would ignite a regional war where they would be supported by the resistance axis, so Iran, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Syria, etc., and the wider Muslim world. That's what they were hoping. It was a preemptive attack by Hamas, and also one that I believe that was not coordinated with Iran. Iran did not okay this attack. They did it on their own, and Hamas jumped the gun. Their intention was to kill as many Israeli soldiers as possible and to take as many hostages as possible back into Gaza to use as bargaining chips in future negotiations to release Palestinian hostages in Israeli jails. They didn't realize a music festival was happening, the Nova Music Festival. When it happened, they took advantage of it and they took as many hostages as possible. There were also some incidences where Hamas or Islamic Jihad fighters individually lost control, I would say. And normally they're quite a disciplined army, but a few of their soldiers basically did fire randomly on Israelis. I think we've seen the videos, there's no doubt about that. It wasn't systematic, in my opinion, having viewed all the footage, but there were some isolated incidents, and I think Hamas leaders have basically admitted to that as well. Now, they probably killed hundreds of Israeli soldiers and an unknown number of non-Israelis who weren't soldiers on that particular day, although all Israeli adults are conscripted in the army. Now, what Israel did as a reaction is they invoked the Hannibal Directive, which basically means when an incident like this happens, shoot first, ask questions later. They used heavy artillery, which Hamas didn't have. And I think we can see that from the images of the massive destruction, the aerial images of all the cars being destroyed, all the houses, sheer devastation. Hamas didn't do that, or neither did the Islamic Jihad. Only Israel could have done that. So Israel ended up killing probably hundreds of their own people that day. And I would say at least as many people as Hamas killed. They say about 1,200 people died on that day. I would say Israel killed at least half of those people. No beheaded babies, no rapes whatsoever. All that is pure Israeli propaganda. So that's basically the facts of what happened on the day.
Yeah, and this has been reported on as well. No harm in name dropping another platform from time to time. The Electronic Intifada has written about the Hannibal Directive, and you can go and read more details about this, the evidences as well, to show that. You also have an article on, we have an article on 5 Pillars as well, which basically debunks a United Nations rape report, which has been spun by pro-Israel forces as well. They were using it to try and back up their claims of mass rape, but actually there are issues there. So do check out the article, read it again.
It's worth just saying that I actually watched the press conference which announced that report, where they basically said that Hamas did rape Israelis on the day, even though there's no forensic evidence or DNA evidence or video evidence or anything like that, CCTV. There's nothing. And basically the UN investigators admitted in that press conference that they took the word of what they call the victim. So Israeli women, some of them, who said that they were raped, the UN admitted that they basically took their word, even though there was no evidence. So it's a sham report.
Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. There's many, many problems there. So yeah, you know, this is part of an ongoing conflict which didn't start on October 7th, as you rightly said. And I think even if we were to take the worst accounts at value, let's say give Israeli side everything. Let's say, okay, there were rapes apparently. There were
believe all their propaganda.
Believe all their propaganda. Frankly speaking, Israel's done worse.
A million times worse.
They've done worse, and for a lot longer as well. So yeah, there's just
which is why I say that it makes no sense that Hamas is a designated terrorist organization in this country, whereas the IDF isn't. Because even if you believe all the worst accounts of what Hamas has done, the IDF has done a million times worse, and they're not designated as a terrorist organization. Pure double standards and hypocrisy.
Yeah. And just look at the genocide that's going on in Gaza as the latest example of that. Kids getting killed en masse, beheaded like by bomb.
Yeah.
You know, they're getting their heads blown off. We've seen all the images, women getting killed, innocent men being annihilated as well, mosques being attacked, churches. So it's
hospitals,
not even just a Muslim thing.
Schools.
Pro-Israel people say that Islam, this is a war on Islamic extremism. They're killing Christians, they're killing kids who, are just, they don't even understand what religion is, and they're killing them. They're like 1 year old or less. So, you know, this is a war on humanity, and Israel, I think, has proven now that it's a pariah which doesn't even defend the West. Like, okay, if you don't care about Arab or Muslim life, which a lot of people sadly do not in the West, well, what benefit has it brought the West? Do you
believe, so let's get into the conspiracies now. Do you believe there's anything in that?
There's something weird going on, Roshan. As I always tell you. I told you. I've told you many times,
Roshan.
Rant
coming now.
There's a rant coming. Look, you're telling me, Roshan.
Yeah.
You're telling me with your eyes that Israel has the sophisticated technology capabilities to hunt down and assassinate senior military figures from the most shadowy organizations
Yes.
in the world, whether it be in Gaza or Yemen or Lebanon or Syria or Iraq or Iran, they can target you anywhere. Pull off these the most amazing intelligence feats.
Yeah.
The walkie-talkies with
pager attacks, yeah.
pager attacks in Lebanon, taking out all their leadership as well. And they couldn't tell that there was a military mobilization happening in Gaza, an unusual military mobilization happening. And then when the attack began, for hours and hours, they didn't respond.
Well, is that
they
true?
wouldn't respond.
Is that true? Well, it was
and then
hours
when they
hours.
did respond, they start attacking their own civilians. I mean, how incompetent, how stupid
Well, I think all right,
would
I've
you
got an
have
answer
to be
that.
to let that happen?
Okay, let me answer.
And remember, they always suspect an attack from Gaza, don't they? They're constantly watching them. There's cameras everywhere. Fences.
I think Israel has proven that when it's focused, it can do a lot using technology and it can get to people. But they're not necessarily always focused 24/7.
Now, that's a conspiracy.
And I think... No, come on.
That's
I mean,
a conspiracy.
nobody in the world is focused 24/7. When it's a war situation, you know, an active war situation, then, you know, you're focused. But there was actually quite a lot of quiet on that border for a reasonable amount of time. So when there's quiet, you're going to be a bit complacent. And I think Hamas genuinely did catch them by surprise. Now, I'm not ruling out because obviously Israel has taken advantage of the situation. So I'm not ruling out that when it... Let me finish.
Catch them by surprise. But then when the attack happened, Roshan, okay, yeah, they attack them, catch them by surprise, absolutely. But then once the attack's underway, you're telling me it took them hours and hours.
I was getting to that. I'm not ruling out the fact that obviously we've seen subsequently that Israel wants a pretext to annihilate Gaza and expel the Palestinians. So maybe once they saw it happening, yeah, they could have delayed their response a little bit.
That's what people are saying. That's what people are saying.
But I think what other people are saying is that there's a degree of collusion here between Hamas and Israel. You know, in that Hamas did it on purpose because they're controlled by Israel. I see these conspiracy theories all the time. I think it's a load of rubbish. I see no evidence for that whatsoever. It's a load of rubbish.
I haven't heard that one. I know that
yeah,
some people...
you see, even Mehdi Hassan said Israel, you know, kind of created Hamas. We actually said that. It's a video of him saying that.
I've heard of that one. I've heard they said
it's rubbish.
That,
it's absolute rubbish.
But I never heard that they were working with Hamas.
Also, I think we have to stop taking agency away from the Palestinians and giving Israel superpowers. We just have to stop doing this. It's a Muslim curse, you know. The Palestinians have their own agency, and the Palestinians did October the 7th, you know. And let's not assume that Israel is all powerful and can do anything it wants. Obviously, we've seen that it has tremendous capabilities in the intelligence and military arena, but that doesn't mean that Israel can't make mistakes. I mean, if we're going to assign these divine powers to Israel, it's a form of idolatry, quite frankly. I consider that a form of shirk, you know. So let's not say that Israel can never make a mistake, can never let their guard down. Otherwise, what's the point of resisting at all, ever?
I know, but it's just like you're dealing with something that obviously it doesn't have any power close to Allah. We're not saying that. Allah is the greatest power here, but obviously there are evildoers on this earth, and they have built up such a technological empire.
Yeah.
I mean, people accuse Israel, frankly, of controlling the world, you know? And I know there's some Jewish
They have a lot of control in the world. There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
You know, theories and stuff like that. And I don't believe in that, you know, it's like Jews controlling everything. But seriously, like, we're not even allowed to criticize Israel. No one is able to tell Israel what to do. Even major Western countries can't tell Israel what to do. They're just getting away with a genocide for free. Yeah. No one's going to be held to account for that. It's like, yeah, Israel is powerful, man. They clearly,
there's no doubt about
they've been
that.
exposed, man. They're just controlling everything. All our politicians as
the West is Zionist occupied land.
The ring
no doubt
Zionism.
about that.
So yeah, it's like it's totally insane.
I mean, all these stupid patriots.
I just think there's something dodgy going on, Roshan.
All these stupid patriots or whatever in the UK, you know, or the West or America first, Britain first. Well, you know, the first thing they need to do is chuck out the Zionist influence, which is a foreign, alien influence, quite frankly, in this country.
Yeah.
You know, that's the first thing you need to do. Instead of getting rid of the Muslims, get rid of the Zionists.
Yeah, it never gets described as that, though. Never gets described as that. For them, it's all legitimate. You know, like a legitimate
Because
lobby and legitimate army.
people are scared about what they think and their reaction. You can see it in the tweets and statements of politicians, including Muslim politicians, on October the 7th. They're second guessing, what will the Zionists think about this? What will the Israelis think about this? Am I going to get into trouble? Yeah. Liberate yourselves by not giving two hoots what they think. They are people that have conducted a genocide. They're lunatics. They are lunatics and killers and murderers. We should not even interview them or care anything about what they think.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we're discussing controversial topics here on today's show. Make sure that you remember the law, and obviously Hamas and these other types of groups are prescribed groups in the UK and in other Western countries, so do bear that in mind in the comments section. Don't get yourself into any legal trouble there. But lots of unanswered questions. There's something going on, Roshan, there's no doubt about that. I know you don't believe me, but then
did
I'm
you
always
see
proven
no,
right.
it's fine.
Just look at old Charlie.
You're not always right. Come on.
Look at old Charlie Kirk. What was I talking about in the other episode?
Later.
Charlie Kirk, clearly, as we now know from leaked tweets that Candace Owens put out there, that he was on the verge of leaving the pro-Israel camp because he was being bullied by pro-Israel investors, because he was daring to criticize the narrative, daring to lobby against war on Israel's interests, against Iran in the White House, and then all of a sudden he's dead, Roshan. He's dead. Do you know what I mean? He went against the narrative, he was in too deep, knew too much, and all of a sudden he's gone. Do you know what I mean? Something's going on, Roshan. There's a massive conspiracy here,
even if you are right about that, it doesn't mean right
there
about
is
everything.
A global conspiracy. Do you know what? I'm going to put it on record now. I don't believe in suicide. I would never commit suicide. Just so Israel or whoever hears, if Robert Carr suddenly pops up and he's done himself in, don't believe it, brothers and sisters. There's something going on. There's something going on. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. There's something going on.
I'm not sure if we're going to get on this later in the show, but
ribbon.
They're putting pressure on us to
let's talk about
to not do the protests. Yeah, let's talk about that first.
So basically, as you know, there is massive pressure on the pro-Palestine protest, solidarity movement in this country. Right-wingers, the establishment, even the government, even the Prime Minister is applying pressure to basically stop protesters expressing their support for the Palestinians. They're attacking them because there was an attack on a synagogue in Manchester. Apparently that meant that everyone should suspend their democratic rights to protest for Palestine. They were accused of celebrating the attack. Complete lies. But now also, let's just give Roshan a chance to deal with his call. What's it, a personal call?
Yeah, I'll shut the phone down.
Are they warning you? There's a conspiracy going on. Who was it?
No,
you going to tell us?
It's a personal call, it's fine.
Well, seeing as that personal call's entering into our space, do you want to share it with the class?
No, not at all. None of your business.
Okay.
None of your business, not anybody else's business.
I'll investigate this. If it's not our business, don't bring it on the show, Roshan.
Yeah, exactly.
Where was I? So now there is obviously October the 7th anniversary, and anyone who dares say a word about Palestine or wave a flag or protest needs to be hung, drawn and quartered, apparently. They're saying, don't do it. You're not allowed to do it. You're not allowed to speak because it's October the 7th. So you're not allowed to have a view that we don't approve of. Well, some people did go out and protest for Palestine, as is their right. They were condemned, students and so on. But also there's a woman who's being completely witch hunted right now for cutting down the yellow propaganda ribbons.
Yeah.
I think it's for
release the hostages
ribbons.
Israeli hostages.
Obviously, if you want the hostages released, you should stop the genocide and go to negotiations, but Israel won't do that. But anyway, apparently it's this woman's fault. She cut them down from a fence in what was the area called?
Muswell Hill,
North
Hill, London.
In North London, and she was filmed doing it, confronted. Now she's being witch hunted. The whole media are conspiring, going after her.
Proud of yourself. What's your name?
No, you're not going to do this.
Not going to do what?
I'm not committing a crime.
Yes, you are. You're doing something
if
that
I am, then call the police. You call the police and you let them know that you have an issue with this.
You disgusting little human being. You're disgusting.
I think condoning genocide is...
Oh,
Oh, yeah, so we support genocide. Oh, yes.
And so,
Yeah, sure.
Because that's what this is.
No, it's not.
what? Ribbons for people who have been imprisoned, abducted, yeah, we're going to show the world what you're doing.
I think her name has been revealed.
Nadia something.
Yeah, so
I think she's a Jewish lady.
yeah, so here's
Pro-Palestinian Jewish lady.
yeah, so this is apparently her name, Nadia Yahlom Switat. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Not an Arab or Muslim name that I recognise. So it's quite possible that she is of Jewish heritage.
Yeah.
So, you know, she felt passionately about this. She cut them down. I don't think she's done anything illegal. She's been accused of doing so in the footage where she was being filmed and confronted. Not that I know of, but I mean, regardless of whether you do anything legal or not in this country, people go after you, don't they? They go after you, try and get your career destroyed for daring to have an opinion or doing anything activism-wise that they don't like. She's been described as an evil woman. You know, she cut down some ribbons. Do you know what I mean? She's anti-genocide. You know, she's pro-Palestinians not dying.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's a taste of what happened. So she carried on doing it. Yeah, it said there that it was some kind of memorial park or something like that.
So
I'm not sure if it's illegal or
all right,
not.
so basically these ribbons are put up by Zionists, some kind of symbol to release the Israeli hostages. That's what they're meant to be. But obviously, I think most pro-Palestinians view them as a pro-Israel symbol. And Israel is committing a genocide at the moment. So a lot of people are offended by them. Now, if she's taken them off a synagogue, if it's on a synagogue fence, then perhaps you can say that perhaps she shouldn't have done it. But I think that's a public park. I don't think that is a synagogue. Can we just zoom in and see what that says?
Let me see. I think
Maybe
it's
if we can just
earlier
rewind
on.
back, what does it say on the signage?
There's something here. The yellow ribbons have been used to the plight of those taken as captives. It has become synonymous with the hostages. So it's talking about the ribbons, not the location.
Can you freeze the frame here? Maybe there. What does that say?
Just says the incident occurred
Oh,
on the
that.
day on 7th.
No. I was just trying to look at the signage to see where that is. Basically, if it's a public park, then it shouldn't be there. You know how they're taking Union Jack flags down off lampposts, and that's because no kind of non-council related paraphernalia is allowed in public places, whether they be Union Jacks, Palestinian flags, or these yellow ribbons. So if she has taken them down from a public park, then she's actually doing the council's job for them. So, I mean, I think she's being very unfairly vilified. The Zionists are obviously on a witch hunt, trying to get her sacked from her job, etc., etc. These are the tactics that they use. You know, anyone that disagrees with their opinions, they go for their jobs. And if you have a public sector job, you're vulnerable. But I think further investigation is needed here to see that whether that was a public park or a synagogue. My feeling was that it was a public park.
Yeah, and if anyone knows this this lady, tell her to speak to Five Pillars. We'll platform her and just figure it out. I'd like to know if she's Jewish or Palestinian or whatever.
I think she is.
I'd like to know. I think that's.
I think she might be Israeli. You know why? Because she describes herself as a Palestinian Jew.
Oh, really?
Which makes me think that she actually might be an Israeli that doesn't believe in Israel, that believes it's all historic Palestine.
Nice.
So,
nice.
yeah,
So
yeah.
if anyone actually knows her, because just tell her to reach out to Five Pillars. We'll platform her, and we won't just do her over like the mainstream does. You know, we'll actually do a job as journalists are supposed to, and speak to people, hear their side, and let the public hear from what they have to say.
But more generally, Robert, on October the 7th, and even in the days previous to that, after the synagogue attack, pro-Palestinians have come under huge pressure to cancel all their protests. By the mainstream media, and all these protests have been, they've been accused of kind of celebrating the murder of Jews. Look, there is no excuse at all to stop any pro-Palestine activism. On that day when 2 Jews were murdered in Manchester, 100 Palestinians were murdered in Gaza. Every day we're getting dozens at least of Palestinians being murdered, often more than that, in cold blood, babies, corpses all over the place, being mutilated. There is never an excuse to stop protesting in solidarity with the Palestinian people on any day of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's like we've said in the previous show, they're just weaponizing the attack to try and achieve whatever they can. And if that means to stop a few
they
pro-Palestine
know they've
demonstrations,
lost
they're gonna do
the media war and the propaganda war, and they're trying to weaponize anything they possibly can to regain the initiative. And I think maybe we can put up a screenshot of public opinion in this country.
It's not working, is it?
Yeah, because I mean, if you're a big obviously we're big consumers of news, because that's the industry that we're in. So we're watching the mainstream media a lot. We're focusing on social media a lot, and if you live in that kind of bubble, you'd be under the impression that most Brits are actually pro-Israel. Maybe that was true 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It certainly is not true now. And I think we can see from this graphic, which is a YouGov, whenever any kind of serious polling has been done, it consistently shows over the last few years that the British people sympathize more with Palestinians than they do with Israelis. And it's quite a clear gap between the two. I think something like, if we look at that figure, this is from July 2025, only a few months ago, something like 67%, or my maths is pretty bad, around 65% of Brits sympathize with the Palestinians either a lot, a great deal, or to some extent, whereas it's only something like 40% for the Israelis. So now public opinion has clearly, decisively shifted towards Palestine, but that is not reflected in the mainstream media or even social media. And it's proof that these platforms are deliberately trying to manipulate public opinion rather than reflect it, which is what their job is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, they're not winning. They're not winning. And the people, let's just hope that they can get truly represented one day. You know, we live in an oppressive police state, it feels like now. And it just feels like, you know, whenever the people oppose anything that the government or the establishment does, it never gets heard, just like the Iraq war all over again. But yeah, there you go. So we've covered that quite well. Now I do want to give ample time to this next topic, because obviously it's impacting us all very close to home. It's the fact that Muslims are under attack here. Muslims' mosques are under attack, and the latest attack in an area called Peacehaven in East Sussex, just on the south coast of England, has really driven that home. A mosque was set on fire on its front doorstep. The attackers, two masked men, actually attempted to try and get into the mosque in order to burn it down. There were Muslims inside the premises at the time of the attack. It was late, about 10:30 at night when the attack took place. Luckily, the door was locked and they weren't able to get in. If they did, then it could have been a lot worse. The Muslims inside had to basically jump over the flames in order to escape. And luckily they survived. But this is the latest in a string of attacks on Muslims and Islamic mosques and centres across the UK over the past year alone. There have been countless attacks and harassment incidences filmed and reported. And it seems as if the situation is spiraling out of control. We reported on it as soon as we possibly could. And there's one interview I'll play out in specific, which I think speaks volumes, that isn't going to get platformed. It was a local non-Muslim reacting to the attack and giving us a bit of context as to why it may have happened there in Peacehaven.
So, my name's Dave, I live in Peacehaven, I've lived here for about 6 or 7 years, and I work down in Brighton.
Could you just give me a reaction following this attack?
Honestly, I was quite shocked in one way, but with everything else that's been going on with the flags and the sort of resurgent far right, I wasn't that shocked. But it's heartbreaking to see it where you live, I think.
Why has this happened?
I think it's because the far right feel confident, and it means that you get lone wolf attacks like this when the far right feel confident. So, I mean, I'd lay the blame all of the politicians, public figures who are sort of pushing this Islamophobic narrative. If you push that narrative, then things like this are going to happen.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
And I've got a prime example of it. So we've seen far-right rallies in London, pulling in significant numbers that we haven't seen in recent years. And then you've also got Reform UK, a right-wing political party on the verge of perhaps grabbing power in this country. And all of these sides are talking, using Islamophobic talking points. And this is the type of language we're using. So Katie Hopkins here, another far-right talker, someone who was on stage at the latest Tommy Robinson rally. She went in a recent interview and warned that British people, proper British people, as she described them, may have to engage in a crusade to basically save this country. I'll just play it out so you can hear it from the donkey's mouth.
Demographically, because we are already overrun, power sits with the Muslim religion. Power sits with Muslim leaders.
Are you done?
And the government.
Is the nation done?
You know, I'll never say we're done because we're still here fighting. I believe there will come a time not too far from now when the British people, true British people, will have to make very difficult choices. Either they will flee eastwards to Eastern Europe with our much more stronger Christian neighbours, Poland, Hungary, those countries, or they will seek asylum, flee, try to come to America, or they will stand their ground. But certainly the time of the Crusades will need to come again if we are to return.
What do you mean by that?
We are overrun in every way, in every sense. Demographically, all births, Muslim births, outnumber births to every and all other religion. This is no commentary on anyone's religion. This is just pure fact. Our mayors who control funding in our capital cities are Muslim. Mosques are not churches. A mosque is being built at the outermost, tippy-most end of Scotland and at the furthermost reaches at the end of the other side of our tiny country. This is about a takeover.
Yeah, that's the rhetoric that we're hearing now. It's very mainstream now.
I mean, if all the power resides with us, it definitely doesn't feel like it, does it? I mean, if we're going to have all that power, let's at least enjoy it. You know, I mean, seriously, I mean, as a Muslim, I can honestly say it feels as though we're actually a small minority. We're 6% of this country. How is that a takeover? If we were 30%, then maybe you can start talking about a takeover. We're 6%. We're at the bottom of every socio-economic indicator, whether that be housing or employment or education. Yeah, we have quite a lot of mosques and we have our halal meat, but that is not an indicator of power. We're unrepresented in all the real institutions that have major power in this country. Government, media, finance. So I don't know how they can talk about a Muslim takeover. You know, it's just not true. It's just not true.
And all the Muslims, because they always, the examples they use as Muslims taking over is those Muslim mayors, Sadiq Khan, Muslim Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood. And it's like,
they don't act like Muslims.
Actual Muslims in this country despise those people in a large segment, you know? Like, they, because of their un-Islamic behavior, you know, they compromise on their community and
they're not
religious
representatives
beliefs.
of the community.
They're not proper representatives.
They've been colonized.
And so they're terrible examples. But they just say, oh, because they're brown, because they're Muslim heritage, they go, oh, well, it's exactly the same, you know, and they lump us all together, you know. So no care, no, there's total ignorance is what I'm trying to say. But one thing I also want to say, Roshan, is that the people behind this attack, the people who are responsible for fanning the flames of Islamophobia and hatred in this society, they're conning people. They're conning and radicalizing non-Muslims in this country.
Yeah.
You know, there are many non-Muslims who seriously think that Tommy Robinson, a repeat convicted criminal, has their best interests at heart, that he's going to save this country from all of its economic and social and religious woes, when in reality, he is self-serving, total ignoramus, and just a stupid person who's obviously got a big mouth on him, therefore he gets platformed to get support. In reality, as we've seen here with these anti-migrant thugs who have been jailed over the Epping hotel violence, just as we have seen with all of the thugs who were jailed after the 2024 summer riots, Tommy Robinson riles them up he incites them to go out there and to protest, where they end up committing criminal acts like this, then where's Tommy Robinson's support when they're facing a day in court? Where's Tommy Robinson's support?
Holiday to Israel.
He's pissing off to Israel or Cyprus, where he's inciting from sun loungers, having these fancy holidays. Who knows where he gets the money for that from his investors or whatever. And these silly sods have to face legal consequences. I'm sure they have families, I'm sure these people would want to do something more with their life than spend years behind bars. Do you know what I mean? For a pointless cause which they, have been radicalized into supporting. Tommy Robinson ain't going to show up to defend you in court. He ain't going to come and feed your families while you're stuck in a jail cell while they're scratching a living however they're going to do it. You and your wife and kids are stuck at home. So honestly, occasionally some right-wing types come into our YouTube channel and watch us, normally to troll us. But honestly, guys, seriously, what the hell are you doing? Is this really what you want to do with your life? You seriously think this is an ideology that's worth fighting for, where grifters and shameless self-serving opportunists rile you up, talk about holy war, and then piss off to a sunny holiday destination while you face the legal consequences because you're being inspired to commit criminal actions? Islam is not your enemy. It is these far-right anarchists that want to burn this country down, destroy everything about it, and then rule over its ashes. That's the message I want to put out there, Roshan.
Yeah.
Roshan, what do you have to say about
this?
Well,
it's not just Tommy Robinson. He's obviously the most extreme, isn't he? People like Tommy Robinson and Britain First. But it's much more kind of insidious and pervasive than that. Let's name names. I mean, I would say that Talk TV and GB News have played a massive role in radicalizing non-Muslims in this country over the last 3 or 4 years. With their anti-migrant, anti-Muslim rhetoric, a lot of it based on complete lies or half-truths at best. Obsessive focus on these two issues. Yeah. And of course, Reform UK is the political embodiment of that. And obviously GB News is their kind of media wing.
Yeah.
And obviously the other mainstream parties like the Tories and even Labour are completely dancing to their tune now. And we have a so-called Muslim Home Secretary in Shabana Mahmood, whose sole job it is to stop migrants coming into this country, a lot of them Muslims, and to police and restrict pro-Palestine protests, which maybe we'll come on to a little bit later. So let's name names now. There's no point beating about the bush. GB News, Talk TV, Reform UK, Tommy Robinson, all of these and many more are radicalizing non-Muslims in this country. To a large extent, many of them are foreign influence projects. Elon Musk is behind them. Yeah. I suspect the UAE might have a hand in them. Israel, definitely. And the money's coming from abroad to a large extent. And it's radicalizing white non-Muslims here, as you say, to burn the country down, and then they want to rule over the ashes.
Yeah, the fact is, Israel's not a friend to the West. Israel is propping up and sponsoring and inviting far-right hateful types who have no answer to any of the problems that people are complaining about in this country. All they do is they peddle fear, and then they benefit from that fear, like Reform UK. They peddle fear because they know that fear is how they can weasel their way in to power, potentially, by just terrifying people into voting for them. Nigel Farage actually said after the Manchester attack, he actually said in a video on Twitter, I saw, that he hopes people are fearful at the moment. He hopes people are fearful.
Oh, did he say that?
He did say that. He did say that. And I couldn't believe it. How could anyone who seriously wants to be a prime minister of any country wish for fear? I mean, the point he was trying to make is, I'm scared, you should be scared too. There's a lot to be scared of. We have to work to fix it. But what kind of responsible person would ever wish for fear, generally speaking, But yeah, I think that we also need to, the other point which I want to touch on while we're on this subject is for Muslims out there, the days of Britain's better than France, or Britain's less Islamophobic or dangerous for Muslims than, I don't know, somewhere in Africa or something or whatever, those days are gone. Britain is not a safe space for Muslims anymore. And I think we have to be honest about
But also, we do have to say, be honest about that, but we also have to be honest to the far right as well, is that Muslims are not going anywhere, you know, and they are also, I mean, some of them might do, but the vast majority of Britons are not going to leave Muslims are not going to leave this country. They have lives here, families here, businesses here, properties here,
They were born here as well.
roots here, everything is here. So if you are going to target them, don't live in this fantasy land that you're going to deport all of them. It's not going to happen. And they're also going to fight back, you know, obviously peacefully, but if they're attacked as well, it might not be peacefully as well. So if you think you can deport millions of people from this country by force, then there's going to be resistance to that project. Don't think that Muslims or immigrants already in this country are going to go quietly, and especially Muslims who are British citizens that have every right to be in this country as much as you. Just because you got a white skin doesn't give you any more right whatsoever to be in this country. Yeah. So if you think you're going to deport all of us and you're going to have an easy time doing it, you got another thing coming. There's going to be massive resistance to your project, and you should be in no doubt about that whatsoever.
Yeah, and it's a dumb idea anyway. If you mass deport Muslims, the economy would collapse.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Muslims are so important.
I'd like to see them come into Birmingham and try to mass deport Muslims.
Yeah.
Just come into Birmingham and try. I mean, I'm not encouraging that to happen, because you know what it's going to be. It's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. So yeah, there's just many things here, but yeah, I do want to emphasize to Muslims, it does feel like now is seriously a dangerous time. You know, you have to be really careful. Men, watch your women. There was, I forget the headline now, there was some sisters attacked by a woman with a pair of scissors in Liverpool.
Yeah, this Peacehaven thing is not the only thing that's happened.
Yeah, it's not one-off.
So in Liverpool, there was an incident where a woman with some scissors tried to attack some Muslim girls. Fortunately, they went back into the mosque and they're safe and sound. I think there was graffiti, Christian crosses daubed over a mosque in Watford. And there was another incident as well in Northampton, I think.
Yeah, Northampton as well.
But certainly there has been an Islamophobic backlash after this synagogue attack in Manchester last week.
Yeah, and it's been going on even before that. Mosques in Scotland are getting attacked. So, you know, we have to be real now. I think even there are some Muslim leaders who are trying to downplay it and say, no, we've got to come together now. We've got to focus on peace. And that's right. But also I feel like they kind of whitewash it a bit and they go, you know, it's still good here for us. Britain's good to us and blah, blah, blah. Well, right now, Britain ain't being good to us.
No.
Britain ain't being good to Muslims, and they're not protecting them adequately enough. And Muslims need to sort themselves out in terms of self-defense. Because honestly, mosques need to get their security in check and make sure they're locking the doors and putting up CCTV cameras and watching their congregation. Muslim men need to watch their women folk and be proper guardians. That's why Islam gives us that responsibility, right, to be male guardians for the family, because of incidents like this. When there's a threat, they target the women folk. And I think just Muslims in general, even the men, just watch your backs, be careful, stay safe, because people are wielding knives and scissors and trying to firebomb places. And
be ready to defend yourself as well. Be ready to defend yourself. If you're a bloke, even a sister, if you don't know how to basically defend yourself, then learn very quickly. You know, go to martial arts classes, because you never know when you're going to get attacked by one of these lunatics.
Absolutely. So yeah, we've got 2 more stories in the list to discuss before the show ends. Obviously, there's been a lot going on with the Freedom Flotilla coalition. People are starting to get released. We had some major concern. There was a few activists who we were worried about. Greta Thunberg, obviously a very famous one, who has been released. We were worried about their treatment after they had been seized by Israel in I think it was in
international waters. Kidnapped, not seized, kidnapped.
Completely kidnapped. No right to do that. All they were trying to do is break the siege of Gaza. We have a couple of testimonies. So Greta Thunberg has been released and celebrated as a hero.
I mean, before we get to her testimony, basically people that came out before her said that she was basically wrapped in the Israeli flags by these crazy people, and she was even, forced to crawl on the ground and even kiss the Israeli flag. They were laughing and jeering at her, making fun of her. I mean, she's a 22-year-old girl. She's autistic, very brave. She's been to Israel before, deported. She knew that she was going to be singled out for the worst kind of abuse, and it looks like she's got it. She didn't speak about it at her press conference because I think she wanted to put the emphasis on the suffering of the Palestinians rather than herself. But I think she was clearly abused by these Israeli lunatics.
Yeah, let's play out a clip from her now.
I can talk for a very, very long time about our mistreatment and abuses in our imprisonment, trust me, but that is not the story. What happened here was that Israel, while continuing to worsen and escalate their genocide and mass destruction with genocidal intent, attempting to erase an entire population, an entire nation in front of our very eyes. No one has the privilege to say we're not aware of what is happening. No one in the future will be able to say we did not know. We cannot take our eyes away from Gaza, from all the places of the world that are suffering, living on the forefront of this business as usual system.
So, Greta Thunberg there, trying to keep the focus on the plight of the Palestinians rather than herself. But yes, you were right. There's been a lot of allegations of abuse, not just by her, but also others as well. Maybe I'll go to, there was, I think she's a Turkish activist who was released recently. She has made a series of shocking claims about how the IDF forces were treating Muslim women who wore hijab after they had been kidnapped.
My hijab out, and all of my Muslim friends were forced to take her hijabs out. I had to fight for 1 hour with violence to not take my hijab out. And after our fight, some Muslim friends could take their hijabs. But I had to witness many friends who had to take their hijabs out in front of men. And this treatment was not just against me. We could see how racist they were, especially against the non-white people. The treatment was not normal. They took us into an animal cage, which was around 12 square meters, with 57 women under the sun for 5 hours. When we were asking for medicine, because we had chronic illness people, when we were asking for medicine, they just threatened us with gas and guns directly in our face. I hope that the Palestinians will forgive us, because I know that it's not enough what we are doing right now here, but we tried our best, and I'm happy that I could do anything, but I could see how they were treating, especially Muslims there.
So yeah, that's a testimony from a Muslim sister who said that they were abusing her and trying to force her to take off hijab. She had to fight back in order to keep it on. Basic dignity there. There was also a scare related to... I
mean, they're just racists and Islamophobes. They're disgusting human beings, aren't
people.
they?
Yeah, horrible people. Horrible people indeed.
Just horrible. Just the worst of mankind, really. Humankind.
Yeah, exactly. Yvonne Ridley.
Lunatic society.
Yvonne Ridley was also missing for a while. We didn't really know what had happened to her. She had also taken part in the Flotilla. She's now been found and released. She's now in Turkey at the moment, and she was able to speak to fans after they had...
So this is 67-year-old Yvonne Ridley.
Yeah.
That's her age.
Let's hear what she has to say.
Salam alaikum, everyone. This is Yvonne Ridley. Free! I just want to thank all of you, every single one of you, who campaigned, who prayed, who petitioned, who protested for the freedom of myself and my Flotilla crew members. It's wonderful just to be away from that horrible prison. I'm with my husband in Istanbul, and I can't wait to get home to my wee little dog cats and boys. And so just a quick message to everyone who prayed for me. I just have a solid knot in my heart for the little girl from Gaza who was waiting on the beach every day, saying that she was looking out for our sails, looking out for us, and all she wanted was a bar of chocolate, and we didn't deliver, and I'm so sad for her and all the children in Gaza. That was the reason for our mission. We just wanted to open a corridor on the Mediterranean Sea, a humanitarian corridor, so that we could get our aid into Gaza.
So yeah, Yvonne Ridley is alive and well, and she's now back. She'll be back to the UK very, very soon. But obviously, yeah, I think she was mistreated a tad as well. Like you say, she was an older woman, and they bunged her into quite a notorious prison, from what I understand, one known for.
Well, she's got formed,
abuse.
wasn't she? She was imprisoned by the Taliban back in the day, and she gave them a hard time. So I can imagine what time she gave the Israelis.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the difference was the Taliban were a lot kinder to her than the Israelis.
Yeah,
and she eventually converted to Islam, influenced by the Taliban to a large extent.
Something tells me that the Israelis haven't convinced her to convert to Zionism or whatever it is.
No.
Yeah, I don't think they're good people.
Well, I mean, I thought you were going to say Judaism there, but instead of Zionism. But actually, the point is worth making that the worst thing that's ever happened to Judaism is Zionism.
Yeah.
It is literally like ISIS. The worst thing that happened to Islam in the last 20 years or so was ISIS. But alhamdulillah, 99.9% of Muslims rejected ISIS completely, whereas unfortunately about 70% of Jews are convinced by this poisonous, racist ideology of Zionism. And I think it's about time Jews ditch this ideology, because it's the worst thing that's happened to them since the Holocaust.
Yeah, and I think, it's a good point. It was a point mentioned by some Jews as well at the conference, the anti-Zionism conference that I went.
In Vienna.
Haim Rashid, for example, was expressing a lot of dismay over this. The fact that, Jews are just standing by this hateful ideology, even when there's obviously a genocide going on. There's still a lot of support for Israel. Among British Jews, for example.
I think it's poisoned the reputation of Jews and Judaism, unfortunately. I mean, obviously, we like to differentiate between Zionism and Jews, and we insist on doing that. And we believe in it as well. We don't believe that, you should conflate. But the fact is that, as I said before, 70% of Jews support this ideology. So it's inevitable that a degree of conflation will go on in their minds and in the minds of non-Jews as well. And we need to get away from that. Otherwise, it's going to lead to an increase in anti-Semitism, and it already has. And let's face it, Israel may be sitting pretty at the moment, militarily and politically, and in many ways, perhaps you could even argue that it has won this round of the war against the Palestinians and the resistance axis. But they're not always going to be that powerful in the future. And what's going to happen? People are going to remember the Holocaust that they perpetrated against the Palestinians. And I think, the Israelis, they cock a hoop at the moment, aren't they? They're very arrogant and cock a hoop, and so are the Zionists. But it's not always going to be like that. Things change very quickly in geopolitics.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's see how things turn out. But there is, of course, still ongoing protests here in the UK.
You went to
this. The latest Defend Our Juries led protest action, trying to pressure for a change in law on the now prescribed pro-Palestine group Palestine Action. Hundreds of people took part, as we've seen in previous protests, holding up those signs declaring their opposition to genocide and their support for Palestine Action. Palestine Action is still a prescribed group, and these activists are trying to fight against that, trying to urge for a climb down from the government, not just because of the genocide in Palestine, but also on the argument that, it's just not a terrorist organization. That's what these people are arguing, you know, that basically it's curbing people's right to engage in protest action, including direct action, to try and, you know, implement.
What was it
change.
like? I mean, you went there at Trafalgar Square on Saturday. Were the boys in blue arresting grannies and grandpas again, or what happened?
Yeah, more of the same. Loads of retirees getting carted off. They arrested someone with his dog at one point, so it looked like they were arresting a dog even. You know, so no animal or human is safe from the police's heavy hand. It was a joke. You know, a lot of the people there were just clearly not terrorists.
Well, none of them.
Am I even allowed to say that? No one there is a terrorist.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
No one there is a terrorist. And yeah, it's just like they're investing so much state resources into carting off old grannies into the back of police vans. And, you know, actual criminals, you know, they talk about a knife crime epidemic.
It's a good day to be a criminal. I mean, I'll tell you what, if you were a criminal, you would have had a field day in London on that day.
Yeah,
you know?
man. Yeah, absolutely.
Because the boys in blue are literally wasting their resources. I mean, I think Keir Starmer even begged Defend Our Juries not to go ahead with this protest because he wanted to defend Jewish synagogues and the Jewish community. Well, look, if you want to divert your resources to that, there's an easy thing to do. Don't arrest anybody in Trafalgar Square or in Parliament Square because they're not terrorists, they're peaceful people. Don't devote any resources to that. Let them get on with doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
So that's the solution.
So yeah, and they were just good people. They were being harassed a bit by some far-right activists who were looking for clout online. But other than that, there wasn't much more going on.
Where's this going in your opinion? Because I know that I've been to one of the protests, you've been to 2 or 3. Where's this going, Robert? This standoff between the Palestine Action supporters and the police, where's it going to all end?
Yeah, it feels a bit unprecedented. I can't think back of something similar happening. Maybe you can. So I'm not sure where it's going to go. I know they're obviously still challenging it legally. And obviously all of these activists that keep getting arrested, they're going to face a day in court, right? And so the judges are going to have to start, you know, giving rulings on this. And if they're all going to be let go, then obviously, I don't know, it creates sort of like a legal conundrum, really.
Yeah.
But these
I don't think juries are going to convict. I don't think they're going to
I don't think they're going to convict either.
Yeah.
But then it's just a slap in the face of government policy then, and the law just becomes like, what, redundant?
An ass.
Yeah, because they're just going to keep doing it. That's the one thing I can say.
Do you think they're going to stop? Or do you think they're going to get tired?
No.
This is going to go on for years, potentially.
This will go on for years and years and years. It'll go on for as long as it has to. And I think some people believe that the law just cannot continue.
Yeah.
You know, they'll have to climb down eventually. But obviously that would be incredibly humiliating for Labour. So this could go on for quite some time. I mean, who knows? Maybe if the genocide stops and the emphasis on Palestine sort of, goes away, dissipates, then they might do a quiet.
I mean, one thing that one of the protesters told me when I attended the Parliament Square demonstration about a month ago was that, you know, he basically said, I won't name him, but he said, look, Roshan, in the last year or so, we've had 2 peaceful organizations designated as terrorist organizations on the list with Al-Qaeda and ISIS, Hizb ut-Tahrir, and nobody made a fuss about Hizb ut-Tahrir when they were banned, when they were clearly a peaceful organization, and they were designated as terrorists, and now Palestine Action. So the feeling was amongst the protesters is they had to draw a line, even if it meant going to jail, even if it meant getting criminalized. And it's not all old people being arrested. Some young people with their careers ahead of them have put their necks on the line as well, both Muslims and non-Muslims. And they just felt that, look, we have to draw a line here. Otherwise, what's the next peaceful pro-Palestinian or Muslim organization that's going to get designated as a terrorist organization and banned? And I think that's what was driving a lot of the protests. They're fully aware of the consequences to them personally, but also they were aware that the authorities may try to place restrictions or ban protests entirely. And that's what's happened. Shabana Mahmood, our great Muslim Home Secretary, has said that she's going to start restricting these protests.
Yeah, that's a good reminder. Yes, they are going after the protests. So, you know, just the right keeps warning about how, you know, the left, if they take over, they're going to oppress everyone. It'll be like a communist state. Well, it's turning into a bloody police state already, and they're the ones that are pushing for it.
Yeah.
You know, the whole free speech argument is totally one-sided.
Look, I think it was a huge mistake by Yvette Cooper to ban Palestine Action. I think she did it as a knee-jerk reaction to Nigel Farage, who first called for the ban. She wanted to appear tough, but she has miscalculated. I think that one of the left-wing newspapers, I think it could be Matt Kennard, is declassified. They have some intelligence to the effect that there was opposition within the government advisors to banning Palestine Action, but Yvette Cooper just overrode that. I think she didn't realise what kind of a backlash they were going to get in terms of public opinion, in terms of police resources being bogged down, in terms of court resources, the justice system in general. I don't see this stopping anywhere. I think that defend our juries, and there's an appetite generally amongst pro-Palestine activists to continue this for as long as it takes, even if it takes years. So at some stage, something has to give. And I don't see the Palestinian protesters backing down anytime soon.
No. Well, there's one more thing to discuss. There is the France trip. This is what you reported on. You went over there. Now, obviously, there's a couple of stories here.
Yes.
The one I've pulled up is the recent video which we've put online, which is of a local Muslim activist and researcher for Cage International, has claimed that at least 10,000 Muslim families have left France as a result of the toxic Islamophobic atmosphere in the country that has risen up. And I think France has that reputation as being deeply Islamophobic and hostile to Muslims. But now we're starting to see the consequence of that, Muslims leaving the country because they just don't feel welcome or safe there. But you also did some reporting on Tariq Ramadan, who has revealed irrefutable proof that he's innocent, calls the sexual assault cases to be dropped. So I'll pass it over to you, Roshan.
I'll be brief. I think, brothers and sisters, you can go online and see my reporting from France. You know, it's on all our social media platforms. I reported on the Tariq Ramadan case, but also gave my general thoughts about the general situation in France for Muslims, which is not good. France obviously is our nearest neighbour. They speak a different language, so we're maybe less aware of what goes on there than we are maybe in America. But they are our nearest neighbour. And I think, as I said in my reporting, France is much more Islamophobic in terms of its laws. You know, masjids being shut down, imams being deported, Muslims being raided, businesses, restaurants, whatever. The space for Muslim activism is very, very kind of narrow in France. It could be where we are in 20 years' time. So I think, brothers and sisters, it is worth studying the French model and the influence of the far right in France, because we're heading in that direction. So I think we need to learn lessons from France so that we can fight what is possibly coming here in the UK. As far as Tariq Ramadan is concerned, look, Muslims in France abandoned him, didn't say much about him. He's clearly targeted in an Islamophobic witch hunt, because he was probably the most prominent voice, pro-Muslim voice in France, with an amazing eloquence. Obviously, we know him here. He's quite famous here as well, but in France, he's a superstar. And he was talking about Islam, talking about Palestine, and we consider him a bit of a moderate here, but in France, he was portrayed as this ISIS Al-Qaeda type figure, and they were desperate to shut him down. It looks like they have, basically mounted some honey traps against him. I think that, while he may have committed some indiscretions, which is between him, Allah, and his family, he certainly didn't rape anybody. And he certainly is not guilty of sexual assault, which is what he was tried for and convicted for. And I think that this new evidence that has come out proves that certain people were in cahoots with the aim of taking him down before, basically sending women to his hotel rooms, stuff like that, with the intention of, having paparazzi outside with the pictures, claiming rape, claiming sexual assault. It looks like none of that ever happened. I do pray and hope that his cases are reopened and his conviction for rape is quashed, and his conviction for or the cases that are being brought against him in France for sexual assault will be quashed as well.
Yeah, so there's some good reporting there. If you haven't seen it, it is on Five Pillars website, and also, as I mentioned, there was a recent video as well released about your interview with Cage International.
Can I say one thing? Is that I think, we've launched a new YouTube channel, haven't we? Called Five Pillars Plus, because obviously the channel that this podcast is on, which is the main Five Pillars channel, which has been going on for several years, we're going to use it now, brothers and sisters, for mainly podcasts. Dilly's podcast, Blood Brothers, Muslims Uncensored, maybe some longer form videos as well. But a lot of our reporting is actually going to go on Five Pillars Plus now, which you can, I'm not sure what the handle is. Do you know what the handle is? Perhaps we can put it on the screen.
Yeah, we have shared it around, so I'll put it on the...
Yeah, so like, share, and subscribe. We need you to watch that channel. At the moment, it's a bit of a small channel, but it has some fantastic content on it. You can see Robert's visit to Peacehaven Mosque, which we just put up this morning. You'll see my visit to France last week, plus lots of other stuff. So please do look out for Five Pillars Plus, and like, share, and subscribe so that you can always be alerted to any of the stuff that we put on there.
Fantastic. Well, I think we've covered some good ground. Obviously, we are going to keep an eye on the news as we do here at Five Pillars and bring you everything you need to know. And like Roshan said, please like, share, and subscribe to continue supporting our work, continue supporting the channel. And I'll make sure I leave a link into our additional YouTube channel, Five Pillars Plus, so that you can find it a little bit easily, and do subscribe to that channel as well.
And the last thing I want to say is that, brothers and sisters, we've got to get real. The Hindutva are putting millions into their disinformation project. The Zionists are doing exactly the same. The far right are doing exactly the same. They are coordinated. They are financially hugely well resourced to spread their poison all over the world with their TV channels, with their influencers, with their social media bot farms. Where are the Muslims? Where are the Muslims? We have more money than them. We're more numerous than them. Taken cumulatively around the world, we have far more resources than them. Why are we not putting all our effort into the media scene? Not just Five Pillars, but every kind of Muslim media, to bombard the world with pro-Islamic messages. It's about time we got our act in order. And I tell you what, we're doing all the talking amongst ourselves in private, while the Hindutva are fighting the fight. While the Zionists are fighting the fight. They're on the battlefield, firing shots. We're not even on the battlefield.
Yeah, man. I mean, where's our bot farms? That's what I want to know. We need to set up our own bot farms. But yeah, it's a good point.
But we are people of Haqq as well.
Where's our Elon Musk?
Yeah, but we're not. We're not. And to be honest, while the Zionists and the Hindutva and the far right are spreading lies and poison, what we would be doing is spreading the Haqq, because we are people of Haqq.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And like you said, there is money there. It's just not going to Five Pillars. Do you know what I mean? That's where it needs to be. But yeah, brothers and sisters, it's a true point. We're doing the best we can. We need you to step up as well, because like I said, I don't even want to use alarmist language or anything, but we are under attack. It's as simple as that. You can't sugarcoat it. Gaza's being genocided. British mosques are being firebombed. Muslims are being attacked in the street. If that ain't a war against Islam globally, then I don't know what is. Every theatre we're under attack. So we need to step up.
This is a war situation. I would go as far as to say that Muslims should give 10% of their income to strategic causes. Like Five Pillars, like Cage, like other institutions, maybe even DOAM, and who else? Can we name a few others? Both in the media, political, people that are making an impact.
Watch, I guess. Prevent
Watch. Maybe we can come up with a list, But literally, I think the situation is so dire that every Muslim that's earning some money should put aside maybe up to 10% of their income, which in some cases maybe 5, 10 quid, 50 quid a month. In others, it could be thousands or hundreds of thousands. But we got to get serious, man. We got to get serious, because the battle is raging. We're not even on the battlefield.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true. Well, There you go, brothers and sisters. Don't forget to leave your comments in the comment section below. We do read through them, and we will start responding to them. We just get really bogged down with all of this heavy news that's coming our way. But inshallah, we do appreciate your feedback, and we'll go towards helping improve the show. But until next time, it's Assalamu alaikum. Ma salama for now.